Ever since the first game was released, Pokemon has always been a huge cultural influence, and whether or not your first exposure was through the games or the TV series, it's hard to deny the impact it's had on people around the world. While I haven't been catching up with the games nor the TV series, I have however seen most of the new Pokemon films. Upon making this video, I searched up the general consensus of what others think are the best and worst movies in the franchise, and I've never really seen a list I agree with. This is either because the people who made their own lists came from the games and aren't review or analysis channels, or just have their judgments clouded by the nostalgia of their childhood. So today I'll try my best to critically determine what I think are the best Pokemon films. Right off the bat, we begin with one of the more unique films in the franchise, Arceus and the Jewel of Life. This film is the conclusion to the Sinnoh trilogy, which focused on showing off the Diamond and Pearl legendaries Dialga and Palkia, and it's the only series of Pokemon films with any sort of continuity, but it ultimately doesn't matter what order you watch it in. Arceus and the Jewel of Life takes place in Mishina Town as Ash and the gang find themselves caught in a turf war between Dialga and Giratina. They encounter Sheena, a spiritual Pokemon whisperer of sorts, as she calms the two beasts down. The characters discover an old legend that foretold the betrayal of Arceus thousands of years ago, who now seeks justice on humanity. Basically, this is the film where Ash travels back in time, meets God to stop him from destroying Earth in the future. Yeah. As you might have noticed, this is the only film that doesn't feel like a typical Pokemon movie due to its time travel aspect. While it uses the same cliched structure of a Pokemon having distrust in humans and then overcoming it, it is however a story of redemption. Ash must travel back in time and stop Deimos from betraying Arceus, but while Ash may seem like the central focus, this is a film between Deimos and Arceus, man and god. While not as intensive or fleshed out, it presents the bond the two have together and how working alongside one another benefits to a long and prosperous future. Ash's adventure in this film serves as a surface level template to what is essentially a look into the lore and history of Pokemon. It explores what roles Pokemon had during the medieval time period and how they were treated as slaves and workers. I think the best moment in this film is when it followed the adventures of Pikachu and how we slowly discovered the setting our characters were in. This not only gave a uniqueness to the film, but pairing it with the aesthetic of the past world, it really felt like the characters were in a different time period. The biggest flaw that this movie suffers from is its generic villain who you can see coming from a mile away. There are so many shots that scream, "Guys, I'm totally not the bad guy." The villain is meek and his intentions are so bottom of the barrel. I actually don't know what's worse, him or Arceus' English voice actor in which he sounds like an angsty teenager, but hey, that's why it's not number 10. Despite being one of the newer Pokemon films, Genesect and The Legend Awakened is pretty simplistic overall with some memorable moments. While Genesect might be a rehash of ideas taken from previous films, it still manages to hold together a smooth flowing narrative, albeit with some plot conveniences towards the end. As Team Plasma revives a group of Genesect inside a laboratory, they manage to escape into the outside world. However, the environment they once knew is no longer there as they must adapt to the new surroundings. Meanwhile, Ash and Co are traveling towards the big city as they visit Pokemon Hills, a sanctuary for any wild Pokemon living within the city. This film is very much about finding your place in the world, and it's made abundantly clear through the Genesect's failed attempts of creating an artificial home. As the Genesect struggle to adapt to the modern world, they find that Pokemon Hills reminds them of their past home, and so decide to inhabit the sanctuary and absorb energy from the city. However, Ash befriends one of the Genesect and teaches her that any place can become a home so long as you have the friends to share it with. The main conflict comes from the leader of the Genesect as he finds everyone to be a threat to the group, and from this we get an amazing action sequence between Mewtwo and Genesect inside New York City. While the battle itself doesn't carry much weight, the visual spectacle it provides is the best the franchise has ever done. From the sparkling lights that engulf the city, to the Tron-like chase that happens around weaving in and out of buildings, everything about this fight is just a treat. Though as the battle comes to an end, the way the Genesect learn from their actions is a little cliche. Throughout the film, Mewtwo had sensed the presence of the Genesect and even sympathized with them due to having an identical backstory, although due to their stubbornness they never listened until the very end, where Mewtwo showed them the beauty of the world. It really is quite a cheesy way to end the film, but I do like the fact that it wasn't resolved through Ash saving the day. The film may not be that great compared to the others on this list, but it does have the most visually impressive action scene. Well, that and this is the only new Pokemon film that I remotely like. Coming in at number 8, we have Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, which evidently is one of the few Pokemon films that doesn't have a villain. The gang arrives at Cameron Palace celebrating the honor of Sir Aaron as the savior of the kingdom. Many centuries ago, two great Pokemon armies were in a collision course that would destroy the kingdom in its wake. Sir Aaron sacrificed himself to the Tree of Beginning in order to stop the war and save the kingdom. During the festival, Ash accidentally releases Lucario from the staff, and due to some misunderstandings with Mew, Pikachu is taken to the Tree of Beginning and the characters must do a search and rescue. This film hints at a great Pokemon war that occurred many years ago, and by using the grimy colors to signal and authenticate the time period, the tonal shifts make the past seem much more urgent and impactful. I've always been more interested in the history and lore of Pokemon rather than just following Ash on his adventures, so getting context leading to the climax of the film was a very nice touch. There's no villain in this story, but instead the film takes a more man versus nature route where our characters have to successfully maneuver through the forests and mountains in order to reach the Tree of Beginning. The stakes aren't high in this film, but I always felt that centralized and self-contained stories were more appealing in a Pokemon film structure. I'm not normally a fan of when Pokemon talk, but Lucario was actually a pretty defined character in the story, and his roles and motivations were integral to his character arc. He's got a distrust in humans because he felt betrayed by his master. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's also the plotline used for the first Pokemon film. But unlike Mewtwo, Lucario was a much more fleshed out character. Throughout the journey, the film draws parallels between Ash and Lucario. By having Ash reminisce about the memories he had with Pikachu, Lucario in turn realizes all the moments he shared with his master. Throughout the journey, Ash and Lucario have a battle of beliefs about the bonds between humans and Pokemon. It's nothing too deep, but it ultimately leads to a shared understanding. Although not to his benefit, Lucario can act quite edgy at times, saying things like,
"I don't have any friends, and I don't want any."
Oh, fuck yeah, this is the shit! Kill me now!
An interesting concept the film tackled was that the Tree of Beginnings was acting like a living organism and so tried to expel the humans by having the Regis attack. All the Pokemon living alongside the tree had a symbiotic relationship, so it made sense for them to want to protect it. The final act of this film really gave a sense of urgency while trying to escape from the tree. The characters were essentially powerless and Lucario was the only one with any sort of means. In the end, in order to save the decaying tree, Lucario sacrifices himself just like Sir Aaron did centuries ago in a sort of poetic fashion, and that he finally realized the shared bond he had with Sir Aaron and was forever connected in spirit. While maybe not the most epic compared to the other films, Jirachi Wishmaker was the first film to take a drastic turn in which Ash wasn't the main focus. The characters find themselves caught in a medieval festival honoring the Millennial Comet. They attend a magic show performed by a magician named Butler, who explains that Jirachi had chosen to befriend Max during its awakening. When the two finally meet, they have a very playful bond together, and the main theme centralizes between the two. The comedy also isn't too bad, with one particular scene being genuinely really funny.
Jirachi, get rid of the problem!
Get rid of problem? Okay.
She's gone!
Disappeared!
Albeit, if you don't have a tolerance for Max or Jirachi, their relationship may seem annoying. For the most part, this film puts a lot of emphasis between Max's connection to Jirachi while also hinting towards a sad farewell. It may not be the best thing the series has to offer, since a later film tackles the idea with much more subtlety and grace, but it was a nice change of pace. At the same time, Butler had a scheme to use Jirachi's power to resurrect Groudon to spite Team Magma, since he was ridiculed by them in the past. Butler was actually given depth as a sort of half-villain of the film. From a young age, he showed the potential to do great things, but along the way he got too obsessed with power and let his ego get the better of him. However, through his assistant Diane, Butler in the end comes to terms with what he's become and realizes what's most important to him. Diane was always by Butler's side, seeing him both as an inspiration and love interest, but never could act on her emotions until the very end. The biggest problem I have with this film is the whole resurrection of Groudon didn't make any sense. Butler didn't create a Pokemon, but a sort of monster that would absorb and destroy anything in its path, kind of like Pokemon Forever, but we don't talk about that one. However, the final climax did give birth to the best moments in this film, which has got to be the aerial combat between Flygon and Salamence. Flying past canyons, weaving in and out of caverns, and dodging Groudon's tentacles, the sequence just added a layer of awesomeness in an otherwise weak final battle. Though I gotta say, the ending was nicely tied and even sentimental, with Jirachi wishing for one last song. Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea is a great film that takes the previous ideas and themes mentioned in this list and builds upon it by carving a truly beautiful adventure that's both engaging as it is emotional. Almost everything in this film is executed to its fullest potential, from Manaphy's loving relationship with May, exploring the vast and deep ocean, to the fun, egocentric villain. After finding themselves in a predicament, Ash and the gang hitch a ride on a traveling circus, only to be suddenly caught in a chase between Jack Walker, a Pokemon Ranger who helps Pokemon in need, and Phantom, an infamous infamous pirate bent on taking over the world, both fighting for possession over the egg of the prince, which during a mishap hatches into Manaphy, who imprints on May. Jack tells them that Manaphy must be brought to the Temple of the Sea, and so our characters embark on the adventure, all while being chased by an eccentric pirate. This film focuses on the journey that our characters undergo towards the Sea Temple, and while the action scenes from Phantom are funny and have a comedic aspect to them, the real charm of this film comes from Manaphy's relationship with May and from the exploration of the world. From learning past cultures in ancient ruins, taking a dive into the deep sea, and strengthening the motherly bond May has with Manaphy, it's hard not to like what this film offers. There's a lot of detail put into the underwater scenes, and it makes the overall atmosphere of the film feel calm and melancholic. Of course, the real essence that makes Ranger one of the better Pokemon films is the emotional bond that's developed. May is a mother to Manaphy, and through their loving and caring relationship, the film hints at a very emotional farewell. But unlike Jirachi Wishmaker, May's relationship with Manaphy always felt like they shared a genuine bond and was never overbearing. This is also partly because they portrayed Manaphy as a very cute baby that was never too overly needy, and when it came to the farewell scene, it was handled exceptionally well. Not too dramatic, but enough that you felt an impact. This of course solidified May as a character, bonding to Manaphy, then having to endure the goodbye. Now, the one thing that stops this film from being put higher on this list is its lackluster climax. When the characters finally reach the temple, Phantom removes the treasured jewels, which causes the whole temple to sink. In order to stop the situation, Ash and May must return the jewels, or so you think. In a story that's very much May's film, May is forced out of the spotlight in turn for Ash saving the day, which thematically contradicts everything the film was building up to. It's annoying and a missed opportunity for character growth, but other than that, Ranger and the Temple of the Sea is a pretty great Pokemon film. As we get down to the top 5, The Rise of Darkrai has got to be one of the best films that the Pokemon franchise has to offer. Taking a much more different approach than the previous iterations, Rise of Darkrai sets out to be a more mysterious and horror-esque type of Pokemon film. As the first introduction to the Sinnoh region, our characters are on their way to Alamos Town for Dawn's Pokemon contest. However, as they settle in, strange distortions start happening within the town, a mysterious fog that prevents anyone from leaving, all while people and Pokemon suffer from nightmares. A good portion of the film is spent on uncovering the truth behind the mysteries of the town, and while as the viewer we know it's being caused by Dialga and Palkia, the residents of the town all blame Darkrai. While it was assumed that he was the cause of the disappearing town, it's later revealed that he's just a social outcast who's alienated because of his creepy appearance. Darkrai doesn't actually do anything wrong, but other Pokemon just attack him simply because he looks scary. The great aspects of the film come from the ominous and unsettling atmosphere present throughout. As strange things start occurring, the characters are slowly given clues through old journals and diary entries as to the true nature of the town. They discover that it's a fated battleground for two beasts, and that the only way to stop them was a 100-year-old song heard in a dream. Meanwhile, as the space-time anomalies get stronger, reality starts to merge with the dream world, and there's a sense of surrealism in the film. It's finally revealed that Dialga and Palkia were the cause of the distortions, and that their final battle is causing Alamos to disappear. The conflict between the monsters really feels larger than life, and our characters are left powerless and can only helplessly watch as the town slowly disappears. However, I feel like the conclusion is really what makes the film even more special. Rather than being a grand final battle, the conflict is resolved by playing a soothing and dreamlike song that calms the beasts. When the characters finally play the song, it's both a magical and epic finish to the climax of the film, a song passed through generations which led to a mutual understanding. Now, if I had any complaints, it would be that the one-shot characters aren't too great, and the relationships formed can be condensed into a simple love triangle that gets resolved fairly quickly. Of course, this film isn't perfect, but the great premise, atmosphere, and conclusion more than make up for its faults. I've got to say, I didn't think a Pokemon film would be able to handle dark tones very well, especially after Mewtwo Strikes Back, which just felt cliché and overbearing. However, Spell of the Unknown is the darkest in terms of its themes that the Pokemon films have ever went, and damn does it deliver. It's both a fun adventure taking creative landscapes to make the battles even more cool, while also being a moral dilemma for the characters. Spencer, a Pokemon researcher, is kidnapped by the Unknown and banished into the ether, leaving his daughter Molly behind. Having felt lonely and abandoned, Molly inadvertently summons the Unknown and wishes for her father back, to which Entei materializes from her heart as a father figure. Molly's desires are so strong that they begin to take over the town and crystallize everything in its path. The real story begins when Entei kidnaps Ash's mom to act as a motherly figure for Molly in order to fill the void when her real mom left. Spell of the Unknown has got to be one of the most ambitious films in the franchise, tackling dark themes of loneliness and manipulation. Considering this is meant to be a children's movie, it handles its ideas in a very mature manner. No one in this film is seen as the bad guy, and even with Entei serving as an opposing force, we can empathize with the motivation of wanting to protect Molly. There are no black and white answers to the questions this film presents, and Molly's desires accentuate that fact. Molly just wants to be a part of a happy family, but can that happiness result from the manipulation of people's feelings? This question is always lingering in the back of our minds, all while Ash proceeds through the mansion trying to get his mom back. The stakes are personal this time, and as Ash makes his way through the maze-like mansion, we're treated to an ever-changing dynamic environment. Not only does the blue crystallized structure meant to represent Molly's loneliness, it's a very unique aesthetic design never seen before in other Pokemon films. And as we reach the conclusion of the film, the final battle between Charizard and Entei not only feels exciting, but has the emotional depth to support it. Molly finally comes to terms with what she's done and that she must accept reality as it is, but in doing so, also realizes that she's never alone with people everywhere to support her. There's a great message to be found in this film, and it's presented through such an ambitious and compelling narrative, accepting reality but never feeling like you're truly alone in the world. So if you haven't already, do check this film out. It's much better appreciated once you're older. Pokemon the Movie 2000 is the only film in the franchise to truly feel like a cinematic experience, from its grand sense of scale to the well-animated action scenes. Everything in the film just comes together so perfectly, being both a dramatic adventure across the forces of nature while also presenting the beautiful scenic landscapes. There's just something so special to be seen here. As Ash and the characters are sailing off at sea, a storm just so happens to form and ends up pushing them towards Shimudi Island, where it just so happens that the villagers are honoring an ancient legend and are looking for a person to reenact the Chosen One. Ash must travel to the 3 legendary bird islands and collect each stone, placing them at the shrine of Shimudi Island. However, alongside this, a Pokemon collector named Lawrence III wants to capture all the 3 legendary birds in order to summon Lugia and take him as his prize. Now, I'll be honest, the setup to this film is really convenient, and the whole Ash being the Chosen One cliche can be a bit sigh-inducing, but once this film gets rolling, it never loses traction. As our characters learn and partake in the traditions of the island, we learn that strange weather patterns are occurring all over the world as a result of an imbalance in the system. Ash must quickly make his way to all 3 islands and restore balance. The adventure sequences in this film are nothing short of exciting, as it feels like our characters are really in a state of emergency. The way they traverse each island using anything they can, going through the harsh terrain, makes it seem like we're right there with them. The adventure aspects in this film really shine through, and it's even more prominent with its use of wide and panoramic shots of the surroundings. Now, of course, how could I not mention this film's soundtrack, which isn't like any other film from the franchise. Typically, a Pokemon film's score is filled with triumphant and fast-paced music to give this sense of an exciting adventure. Pokemon 2000, however, has a magical score that's beautifully soothing, and combining this with the epic scale of the movie, the sequence is just a spectacle. Instead of fast-paced action scenes, you're left to take in the raw beauty of the environment and how it slowly turns from order into chaos. Pokemon 2000 gradually builds a dramatic tension, and from this you can appreciate the more calmer moments scattered throughout. What this film offers is a truly cinematic experience never seen before in any other Pokemon movie. While the setup may be lacking, it more than makes up with a grand scale journey that delivers both a fun ride, yet acknowledges the true purity of nature. Pokemon 2000 is a one-of-a-kind film in the franchise, and you should definitely watch it if you haven't seen it. Coming in at a close second, Pokemon Destiny Deoxys has got to be one of my favorite films from the franchise. Not only does it have a great setting in a unique conflict, there's plenty of minor details that makes this film great. While at a travel destination to the highly advanced city of Laros, known for its integrated life with technology and spectacular battle tower, our characters meet an assortment of people and trainers as they explore and tour the big city. However, danger arises as a mysterious Pokemon, Deoxys, comes down from the sky, knocks the power grid out, and starts abducting people and Pokemon alike. Trapped with no means of escape, our heroes must find a way to turn the power back on and search for all the missing people. While a big part of the excitement comes from the conflict when Deoxys arrives, this film takes its time to build up. The first half is spent on our characters learning about the lifestyle and community around the city. The whole battle tower sequence in the earlier part of the film is visually striking, and there's some really exciting moments. While it is just a normal Pokemon battle, the action scenes were just plain fun due to the great camera work and even had a mixture of good light-hearted humor. There's also a subplot with a new character, Tori, who's afraid of Pokemon due to a traumatic experience as a kid. Though it's not an integral aspect of the story, I still appreciate the minor details of his character arc. Tori wants to be more confident and friendly to Pokemon, but just can't help himself from the terrible memory. Although as the situation escalates, Tori learns to trust the Pokemon beside him. This film has the biggest cast compared to the other Pokemon movies, and while you might think it's a hindrance to the story, it actually adds a fun group dynamic. From its witty interactions to the main cast, or letting them have a moment in the spotlight, everyone in the group has their own unique quirk, and unlike other Pokemon films where Ash typically saves the day, Destiny Deoxys really hits home with the message that only by working together can they overcome the disaster. Despite being in a highly advanced city, when the power outage occurs, our characters are essentially trapped in an abandoned city. With Deoxys patrolling the outside areas, our characters must think outside the box in order to travel to important locations around the city. Destiny Deoxys is Pokemon's version of an alien invasion film mixed with a Godzilla monster fight at the end. While the end battle is pretty superfluous since it's caused by a misunderstanding, there's a lot of human aspects about this film. Characters learn from each other's customs, empathize with their personal obstacles, and must come to work together in a city apocalypse. Not only that, this film also introduces us to the best duo in Pokemon history. No, I'm not talking about Rayquaza and Deoxys, but Plusle and Minun. These two little creatures are so cute and bring to light the comedic and happy moments. Though apart from being adorable, they actually serve a purpose towards Tori's development as a character. Destiny Deoxys is all around just a ton of fun and what a Pokemon adventure should be like. It's an alien invasion film set in a futuristic city with high impact action scenes where people must band together. It's funny, lighthearted, and is a down-to-earth film. What more could you want, really? At the number 1 spot, we have hands down the best film in the franchise, Pokemon Heroes Latios and Latias. Generally, what we expect from a Pokemon movie is an exciting adventure across a new land filled with fast-paced action sequences. However, Pokemon Heroes shows us that you don't need any of those aspects to make a great film. We find our characters enjoying the city of Altamar as Ash and Misty take part in the annual Fortune Chariot Festival. As the gang explores and learns the culture and history of the city, Ash stumbles upon into a hidden garden where he finds the home of Latios and Latias. Meanwhile, a criminal duo are set to steal the gem of the town known as the Soul Dew in order to resurrect an ancient weapon. What really sets Heroes apart from other films in the franchise is how much it utilizes a great setting. From the start of the film, the whole opening sequence to the race is visually stunning. Not only is there some great camera work to admire, giving a 3D sense of space, but it also gives us a chance to familiarize ourselves with the layout of the town, which, if you couldn't have guessed, is based off the city of Venice, down to the water canals, bridges, and architecture of the buildings. A lot of the charm comes from the melancholic atmosphere that this film presents. It's not set out to be a grand adventure like 2000 was, nor is it action-oriented as Destiny Deoxys, but rather you're meant to appreciate the more finer details of the city. This becomes even more prominent as characters take a tour on the gondolas, visit the museum to learn about the history, and even has Ash admire the secret garden. The relationship between Ash and Latias is really quite genuine, and even though they can't talk, Latios and Latias' personality really shines through from their energetic expressions and movements. This is also something that's really well done. Unlike the newer films which have the legendary Pokemon talk for no reason just to give them a bland motivation, Latios and Latias' emotions are not expressed through dialogue but from subtle character movements, which is pretty amazing. Most of this film hinges on giving a very pleasant and relaxing experience, and even during the rising conflict, it's given a very cool vibe. As the duo Annie and Oakley steal Soju to take over the world, Ash must essentially water ski his way through the canals of Venice, all while being chased by resurrected Pokemon. The chase scene feels very reminiscent of a spy flick and is even a callback to the beginning race. Of course, what Pokemon Heroes is really known for is its impactful ending. Due to the Soju not being put in its rightful place, it creates a tsunami that could wipe out the entire city. Latios, in a noble way, sacrifices himself in order to save the city and has one final goodbye to Latias in a very poignant moment. The whole ending felt very surreal and was even foreshadowed throughout. I think it's safe to say that Heroes is a perfect film in terms of being a Pokemon movie. The journey captures the very essence of the city, it gives characters non-superficial personalities, but most of all gave the spotlight to Latios and Latias. It's relaxing, it's cool, it's truly a perfect finish. So there you have it, the 10 best films the Pokemon franchise has to offer. If you ever felt curious about which films to check out, well, the list has been made, but I'm sure there are some people who are annoyed that the first movie didn't make it, and to that I say, go back to Watch Mojo. For the rest of us though, do you agree with the list? What are your favorite Pokemon films? Comment down below, and if you've made it this far into the video, which I'm sure 2 people did, consider following me on Twitter. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.